A single day after Trump's arraignment in the election theft case, he's now reverted right back to his tried and true tactic of levying threats against the very people seeking to prosecute him. He took to Truth Social writing, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." Now, I'm going to read you a transcript of what happened in the courtroom yesterday. Let me know when you hear the part that might just be of issue here. It is important to comply with your conditions of release, the judge says. If you fail to comply, a warrant may be issued for your arrest and you may be held before trial. Your most important condition of release is that you not commit a state, federal, or local offense. If so, your release may be revoked. You may also face a longer sentence for having committed a crime while on release. I will next set a court date. You may also face an additional criminal charge for failure to appear in court. Next, the judge tells Trump that he may not communicate with any witnesses about the facts of the case without an attorney present. I want to remind you it is a crime to intimidate a witness or retaliate against anyone for providing information about your case to the prosecution or otherwise obstruct justice. Do you understand these warnings, sir? He nods yes. Having heard those conditions, are you prepared to comply with them? Trump stands again, right hand in the air, and agrees to comply with the conditions of his release. See that part where it says it is a crime to intimidate a witness or retaliate against anyone or otherwise obstruct justice? Yeah, when you say, if you go after me, I'm coming after you, you are directly undermining that part. All of which is to say, if you think prosecutors and the judge aren't paying attention here, then think again. And by the way, this is the perfect reminder as to why this prosecution, among others, is so important. This guy, Donald Trump, is so used to getting away with it that he feels perfectly justified inciting violence, obstructing justice, retaliating, and on and on. He is a walking, talking crime spree. And the fact that prosecutors had previously been too afraid to actually hold him accountable only emboldened him to do it more. To the point where now, even amid 3 indictments and nearly 100 charges, a single day after his arraignment, still he's threatening the very people charged with holding him to account. No, Susan Collins, he will never change. He will never learn his lesson. He will never become presidential. At his core, this is who he is. A criminal who is incapable of learning and who has nothing but disdain for the same laws that he pretends to value. And by the way, just in case he wanted to shield himself by claiming that it was just a one-time thing, it wasn't. This was just days ago on Truth Social.
If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we're going to do things to you that have never been done before. And I'll be honest, I didn't know at first if that was Trump's actual voice or if it was some type of AI, but it was then reposted by Donald Trump, meaning it didn't matter if he said it because Trump then went and endorsed it anyway. He took away any plausible deniability he might have had. Again, these threats aren't a bug, they're a feature. They are his whole strategy. And let's be clear, they've been his strategy. Back when Trump was indicted in the classified documents case, he issued a call to arms to his supporters ahead of his arraignment on federal criminal charges in Miami. He posted on Truth Social this post, "See you in Miami on Tuesday," which is an obvious provocation of his supporters, indicating to them to go to Miami that Tuesday, where they would purportedly make their feelings about this arraignment known, and I'll just let you be the judge of what he was hoping they would do. And only weeks earlier, ahead of his arraignment in New York, he posted, "We'll be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Protest, take our nation back." Again, same playbook, different day. Donald Trump is not shy about trying to incite violent mobs to a specific place to do his bidding. Trump even tried to issue a direct message to New York law enforcement ahead of his indictment, saying, quote, "Can you imagine the great New York City Police Department, correctly referred to as New York City's finest, who for the first and only time in history endorsed a president, me, and honored me as Man of the Year, having to defend and protect the defunders and cop haters of the radical left that want to put their greatest champion and friend in prison for a crime that doesn't exist. All the while the Soros-backed DA allows murderers and other violent criminals to freely roam the sidewalks of New York?" In other words, he was signaling to New York City police officers that they shouldn't do their jobs and uphold the rule of law because if they're true Trump supporters, they would refuse to protect the people of New York from his potentially violent supporters. Again, all of this is just thinly veiled calls for violence. It is a pattern, and knowing what it resulted in on January 6th, only to continue doing it in Manhattan and then Florida and now in Washington, D.C., is all the proof you need that the violence isn't a fluke, it is the whole point. And those are just the physical threats. He's also made threats regarding political retribution.
Very strong piece that they're afraid to have me back in. That's why they're doing the indictment stuff, because they don't want to be indicted. Now, I would do it only very fairly, of course, but they don't want to be indicted. So they said, we can't let this guy win. But there was tremendous corruption on the other side. Don't forget, they spied on my campaign and we caught him.
That if he's reelected, he'll move to indict his political opponents. But don't worry, he would do it, quote, only very fairly, of course, because if there's one thing that he's known for, it's his commitment to equal application of the law. The same law that he broke and doesn't think he should be held accountable for. The audacity for someone like Donald Trump, who's currently contending with 3 indictments and well over 70 charges, and most likely 4 indictments within the next few weeks, to lecture anyone else about accountability, coming at you straight from the party of personal responsibility. And by the way, if Trump was really going to start indicting people, very fairly of course, one thing that's missing when it comes to everyone else, and this may just be a minor detail here, is a crime. This guy's out here claiming that he's going to start indicting people, but for what? No one else actually did anything, and certainly not on the Democratic side. So unless he's talking about supporting the other open indictments against George Santos, then it might be a little tough to indict someone without a crime to indict them for. The one thing I don't doubt, though, is that if he were to win, he certainly would try, and he would fill his positions, especially in the Justice Department, with diehard Trump lackeys who would unapologetically do his bidding. So even though a president can't indict anyone himself, he would in fact pull the strings on those who could indict. So if you needed another reason not to stay home in 2024, or why Biden's age doesn't hold a candle to Trump's abject corruption, this is it. He is promising that if he becomes president, he will use the levers of government to exact revenge against his political opponents. The simple fact is that Trump has one tool in his toolbox to destroy the people who seek to hold him accountable for his abject criminality. He wants to incite physical violence, he wants to promise political retribution, he wants to instill fear. Republicans have spent years beating their chests about their opposition to crime, and yet look how they rally behind a guy who is incapable of not committing it himself. So I hope voters look at this party, which has cloaked itself in empty rhetoric about criminality for years, and see just how deeply enmeshed in corruption they actually are. The only relationship this party has to law and order is that they refuse to abide by it themselves. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on this screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.